Hello, my friends out in video land. I hope you're having a fantastic day today. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Go ahead and make sure you get your cup of coffee or your water or whatever it is you have as a refreshment. And let's take 15 minutes just for you. Hi, I'm Trish Carr from Women's Prosperity Network, and we're here for the Be Real, Get Real podcast today. And I'm excited because what this podcast is all about is finding out about the people behind the business. You know, we don't do business with businesses, we do business with people. Whether it's the person who bags your groceries at the store, or it's the person who takes your money when you're buying some fun bauble. It doesn't matter. Those are the people. The grocery store that I go to, those people have been working there for 15 years, and it's them I'm dealing with, not the big corporation. Well, the same thing's true with us as small business owners. And the more we get to know each other, and the more we get to know the people behind the business and where they came from, the more we like each other. And when we like each other, we want to work together. So it's perfect to grow your trust. And let's find out a little bit about one of the amazing members of Women's Prosperity Network. This woman, you are going to really love this. Get this. She was an attorney, and now she is a humor alchemist. So what she does, she's actually a ventriloquist. You know, those people that throw their voices and have puppets? Well, this person, Bonita Joy Yoder, is all about using those fun puppets and using joy so that your presentations are memorable, so that your wit and wisdom can be adapted for whatever situation. And Bonita Joy does presentations with her puppets. I don't know what that noise is.
I'm not hearing it.
It's coming from Bonita's phone. Well, let's see if we can fix that. But anyway, let me tell you about her. She's amazing. She was an attorney. She delivers great presentations at your event so that your audience has a great time. But her mission is really inspiring you to express your inner joy through humor, light-mindedness, and lightheartedness. Couldn't we all use a little more lightheartedness? Her experience also includes magic performances and ventriloquism. For over 25 years, she's been in law practice, real estate investing, and ventriloquism and magic. How does this all come together? Let's find out. Bonita, welcome.
Hello, good morning, Trish.
Good morning.
Good to see you after I met you in person last month.
I know, we finally got to hug.
Yeah.
Wonderful thing. You know, it's so funny when I feel like we know each other for a couple of years now, but we were never together in person. And that was so much fun. So it was great to see you in Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was very fun.
My first time there. So yes, it was good to meet.
And then you went on a cruise, which is one of my all-time favorite things to do.
My first ever.
So what did you think of the cruising experience?
I wouldn't go just for a vacation, but because it was a business cruise and there were a lot of business connections and opportunities, I went. But I would go again for a business event. I wouldn't go just on vacation. I was very grateful that I came back well because so many people got sick. Yeah. A lot of them got colds and flu and whatever, but I came back unscathed. So thank you.
That's the tough part about traveling with a lot of people in the winter, because that's when all the germs are around. But yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you had a good time and you made some really good contacts. That was really what it was about, right?
It's almost like BC. My life was almost like BC, before cruise and after cruise.
Oh, really?
I met a lot of people in person that I had only met on the internet, and that was great. But then I just spent some time with one of the members on the cruise and some other people, it just seemed like doors opened in many ways. I mean, it's like a conference could be held anywhere. But I remember years ago, Mark Victor Hansen said, when I was in a smaller group with him one time, actually, I was on a one-day sail around New York. I don't know if you call that a cruise. I didn't consider it a cruise as in going, but he said, if you want to get to know somebody, find a cruise where that person is going to be and get on it, because they're on that ship and can't get off until everyone gets off. In other words, you're kind of captive. But I'll never forget that, how he said that was one of the best ways, you know, you hear that somebody's going to be at a cruise and you've been wanting to make a connection with her, meet them, that was one of the best ways, like a, you know, a known person or
what a good idea.
celebrity or whatever.
But
yeah, I thought that was good.
You had like 250 people from the cruise that you were on that were all there for business, right? It was a lot of people.
450.
Oh,
450.
450. Wow, that was great. Well, that was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Well, welcome back. I'm glad you had a good time, and I'm glad you made great connections. But here's my question. How did you go from an attorney to being a magician and a ventriloquist? This is what I want to know. Like, one is so left-brained and the other is so right-brained. How'd you make that happen? Why'd you make that happen?
The real question is, why did I go from being a magician and a ventriloquist to an attorney?
That's
yeah, she's a liar, not a liar, a lawyer. What's the difference? Oh, Ruby, you can go sit and listen over there. Okay. So I was intrigued at age 5 or so at a family reunion on my mother's side when my older cousin, Clinton Detweiler, he's no longer in the physical plane, but he became famous in the ventriloquist world for making ventriloquial figures, you know, years later. But he went up front with his little wooden doll named Woody, put Woody in his lap, and they started talking, and people started laughing. And I'm like, is Woody real? He seems real, but I don't think he's real. He's wood. I just, you know, was so intrigued, and that stayed with me. That was a strong imprint that stayed with me for years. But now my father was a Mennonite minister, and his sister thought ventriloquism was of the devil. And my mother's side was more creative and open. But it wasn't until after my father died unexpectedly, at almost 2 weeks till I was 16, that I then checked out a book from the library and spent hours in front of the mirror practicing, hours. And I suppose there was a connection to my father passing, because as a PK, preacher's kid, I was always under the mirror of the microscope. What would the congregants think? What would the congregants think? And I know sometimes there were things that my parents really didn't care about, but if the congregants cared, you know, we still had to hold that standard. But I no longer had to worry about somebody judging me for whatever, ventriloquism being of the devil or something. And maybe it was another way to channel energy after losing a parent. I don't know. But I checked the book out by Paul Winchell called Ventriloquism for Fun and Profit. While other kids were playing softball, I'm in front of the mirror. I didn't have a puppet.
You didn't have a puppet? Would you use your hand?
Yeah, when you started out, you were to take a newspaper and just read in regular voice every other line, one voice and a different voice, your voice and then a different voice, to practice switching voices, and then you added a puppet. But I had been selling Raleigh products, spices and whatnot, door to door, and I saved money to buy my first ventriloquial figure from a man in Lawrence, Kansas, because they were actually less expensive than the ones that my cousin was selling. And I went up to visit my brother, who was in law school at University of Kansas, where I later went. Well, that was the reason I went to Lawrence, Kansas, was to see my brother. I actually also went to see this ventriloquial maker and made a payment arrangement with him where I could send him $25 a month, and he held this figure for me, Clyde. And then
Clyde. So you bought Clyde on layaway.
Yeah. Years later, Clyde was stolen out of my car, which is a whole other story. That's a whole nother story.
Oh my gosh,
But
you must feel like you lost a kid.
it was devastating. It
I'll
was
bet.
devastating. And I have other ventriloquial figures and puppets now, but there's still something. I guess it would be like your first child, you know.
Right.
I tried. He resurfaced 40 years later. I tried to get him back. I don't. Somebody just stole the car stereo out of the radio and then grabbed an old beat up garage sale suitcase that had him in it. They didn't even know what they were getting, I'm sure.
Right.
You know, and I went to all the flea markets and antique stores and the police. I remember when I was making that report, the guy was so busy telling me basically what a waste of time it was because of attorneys. I mean, he had no empathy because he like, he's like, you know, you just get these people off anyway. And I'm like, I lost my ventriloquial figure. Anyway,
My ventriloquial figure. Is that what you call them? My
that's the
ventriloquial.
official name. Now, Jeff Dunham started saying, "Hey, it's okay to call them dummies," because that was in the legal world. We would possibly call that. We'd probably call that a microaggression.
Right, exactly.
A
So here you are.
microaggression.
So you're learning ventriloquism. You learned how to do it. You got your first ventriloquial. What'd you call it? Ventriloquial
Figure.
figure. Yes. And
If they're not around, you can call them a dummy, but they're actually pretty smart.
so what were you doing in your first jobs? Like when did attorney come in there?
Okay, so I started doing children's birthday parties. I joined the Wizards of Wichita, and again, this was after my father died. But I
So you were
was,
still young. You were in your
yeah,
early
it was too.
20s.
He died in August. I think August 3rd. I turned 16 on August 18, and but I wanted to go to this Wizards of Wichita Magic Club, and my mother, you know, she had more time on her hands, and she drove me in and was supportive. And I started doing these shows for kids' birthday parties, half hour, magic and ventriloquism. But then I went to this little Mennonite junior college in my hometown, and I wrote a paper on magic. And the professor, who also was the college president, he gave me an A, but he wrote like in red pen across the top that he was concerned about the ethics of deception in magic.
Isn't it funny how people are? So everybody's got an opinion on everything, don't they?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. But I think the reason I went to law school is because my brother went. He
Mm,
was 4.5 years older, and I had like a zillion things I wanted to do. I wanted to do everything. I was interested in broadcast journalism. I was interested in so many things, and he said, "Look, if you get a law degree, you could do anything. I mean, that'll open the door to anything." And I didn't intend to practice law when I went. It wasn't until my third year when I got in a legal aid clinic that I thought, oh, there's something practical you could do with this instead of just sitting around and asking, why is it fair? We had one professor, he would ask all the time at the end of a case analysis, this was the ruling, this was what the judge or jury decided, but is it fair? And then that would be the final question. And the class organized, we got T-shirts made up with a caricature of it. We had one of our classmates who's still practicing law, was a great caricature artist. He could have done that full time. And he'd draw on napkins during classes, you know, the classmates and professors. Well, we got these T-shirts printed up with this caricature of this professor, Mr. Coggins, and underneath it says, is it fair? Or but is it fair? at, at a designated time, I haven't done this for years, but a designated signal, everybody stood up and opened up their blouses and shirts and displayed this T-shirt. I'd never seen him speechless before.
that is great. That is great. But all those years in school, and you ended up still doing what your heart sent you to do, and that's to
Yes.
be a humor alchemist. So now
Well,
what you do is you help people to add humor to their, in addition to still performing, still doing what you do, you also invite people to get more humorous in their own life. And I know you have a humor journal, so tell us about that.
Well, this humor journal has 10 humor prompts so that a person can notice the fun and funny things that go on. Because there's a saying in comedy that truth is funnier than anything you can make up.
That's right.
So, it could be funny things kids say or your grandkids, like Art Linkletter used to say, kids say the darndest things. It could be something that happens at work or along the way. And, like I was going through the Kansas City airport one time and the TSA guys going, put all of your electronics in a separate container, your iPads, your own iPhones, and your microwaves. And I'm like, did he just say microwave? And I'm actually running it. I run into Kansas City and Denver, some funny TSA people, and you can kind of see with smiles break out. People, the stress kind of drained, It's like you're waiting to catch your flight, try to get through security, and then there's something funny. I mean, it's wonderful. It shifts the whole vibration in the atmosphere. And here's the thing, Trish. In my early years as a lawyer, I was a very young lawyer, I'm maybe 25. I'm in a divorce courtroom. Judge King is sitting there with his eyes closed, which I later learned meant he was listening very intently. So at the end of the testimony, he opens his eyes, he leans forward, and he says, this was the beginning of his judgment. I feel like I've made a good decision when I make both parties unhappy.
This is the profession you want to be in?
I know, and I'm thinking, I'm standing there, and I'm thinking, unhappy? Why can't he try to make them both happy? Anyway, that was the beginning of a journey of opening my eyes to the reality of this profession, because I got out of law school and I was going to be a change maker, idealistic, change the world. And for courtroom after courtroom, there was stress, there was sometimes revenge, get even, anger, and people were not laughing. They were crying sometimes, right? I mean, literally. And I had to think back to when I was a teenager and in college doing these magic shows. And I actually, in law school, I was working through a couple of agents in Kansas City who would book me for these employee company dinner banquets and state associations like the Notary Public of Kansas conference. And it's like, hey, that was more fun having people laugh than having them cry or be angry.
Right.
So that was part of my going back to the love of my youth. I thought, my middle name is Joy. This is my purpose, to help be a super spreader of joy, not of adversary and there's different ways of doing that, and there's more move towards humanizing law and holistic law, and I have a good friend who's written books about this, J. Kim Wright, but it's also one of the slower professions to change. I mean, I was one of when I started my law practice, there were just hardly any women in it.
Right.
Which is one reason I backburnered the puppets then for a while, because I thought, oh, I'm going to be the crazy puppet lady lawyer.
Yes, the puppet lady lawyer.
Although now I realize I squandered a marketing opportunity, because people may not remember my name, but they could say, hey, who's that lady lawyer with the puppets, right? Somebody would know. And I just wasn't confident enough in myself then as a young attorney, a young female attorney. But I look back and I'm like, oh, that was a great marketing opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you can still do it. You're always going to be a lady lawyer, right?
I still have my license. This is true.
Exactly. You're still a lady lawyer. But, Bonita, I love what you do. You spread joy. You go to organizations, you get on stages, and you make people laugh while they learn, because that's really what it's about. When we laugh, we learn more. When we laugh, we buy more.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Southwest Airlines, when they started making those funny announcement jokes and silly
Yes.
songs, and the Federal Aviation Administration tried to shut them down. And then research showed that the passengers listen more. I mean, I know I
Yep.
did, because you're like, oh, maybe I'll hear something funny instead of,
Yep.
how to use my oxygen mask. And in the
Absolutely.
process, yeah,
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons I loved flying on Southwest, because they were fun,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And
And
it's
fun is,
not as
go
it's
ahead.
starting to come back. It kind of what they were under so much stress during the pandemic that
Yeah,
just dealing with passengers. But I'm starting to see
it's
uh,
coming back. But
some of that.
it's a testament to what humor can do for a business. We
Hmm.
remember the funny commercials. We remember the funny flight attendants on Southwest. When we learn while we laugh, we learn better. While we laugh, we get into a better mood. We're more open to ideas. So, Bonita, you're spreading joy, but you're also giving people the opportunity to actually learn what you're there to teach them. And that's
Yes, and they
got to be
retain
great
it more.
feeling. Hmm.
They retain it more. And plus, I think you said at the beginning before I came on about doing business with people you like and know and trust. Humor is a great icebreaker and it helps build rapport. I mean, I know one time I was going to the courthouse, so there were 3 armed security men there. I said, do we taxpayers really need to pay for 3 of you to get inside the door? And the one guy, he turns to me and he goes, Bonita, it takes 3 of us to corral you. I laughed and I said, Randy, do they teach you humor in law enforcement training? He said, no, but they should, because
Right.
when I'm interrogating a suspect, if I use humor, it breaks the ice, it builds rapport, they trust me more, and they tell me a lot more.
Right. And that's the truth for any business, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So serious business, police, law enforcement, court, humor could break the ice, and think what it could do in your business, any business. And also, it's more attractive when you're dating someone. It's the same kind of thing, same principle of liking someone more and trusting them more. If they have a sense of humor, there's more of a magnetic draw, whether it's your personal life or your business life.
It's so interesting that you say that, because if you read profiles on dating apps, not that I'm on the dating apps all the time reading them, but in my past, sense of humor was in the top 3 things people are looking for. Sense of humor. And if you're not showing it in your business, why are you compartmentalizing that you can only be funny in your personal life, right?
Right.
Well,
And there's also studies, if you have a sense of humor in a job interview and the candidates, if it's all else being equal, there's something that has to help make the decision. That could be a thing that could tip your getting a job. So it's on all levels.
absolutely. Well, I urge all of you to be in touch with Bonita. Bonita, the best way to be in touch with you is through your website?
Yes, or for the gift of the humor journal, go to joy.funandfunnier.com. Yeah, joy.funandfunnier.com. I also am on all kinds of social media. I have videos with puppets on YouTube, and we already had Ruby up here once, but she shows up a lot of others. I have a cast of characters, and LinkedIn is a good place to connect with me too. So I'm
Well, let me
all
give you a
YouTube,
little
LinkedIn, Facebook.
all that. Well, let me give you a little testimonial. So if you want something fun to brighten up your very boring or your dry presentation, or even if your presentation's great, I asked Bonita. Bonita had a special sale where I could buy Bonita and one of her ventricular
Ventriloquist.
figures. Yes. And she came on my training class while we were doing a workshop, and not only did she get everybody to laugh, but she taught people the value of humor in their presentations, and it was so perfect, and the audience loved it. Thank you. I urge you to get in touch with Bonita to do that. It doesn't have to be
Thank you.
a 1-hour keynote. It can be a 10-minute pop in and make your audience laugh while they learn.
And we can also do birthday videos. Oh, yes, I do custom videos for special occasions like anniversaries, employee acknowledgement,
Good idea.
birthday, that kind of thing.
Yeah, those are great.
And
There's
MC, the puppets love the MC. You know, it's not, if you want to talk about, is it fair, going back to the law school class, what's not fair is the puppets get by with saying anything. Yeah, we do. They get by with anything. But anyway, we and they and we love to MC together. You know, something spontaneous happens and you can comment and I can be irreverent, yes.
Yes, irreverence is easier when it comes out of her mouth rather than yours. Right? That's the truth. That is
Yeah.
the truth. Bonita, thank you so much for being with us. And is that Ruby?
Yes,
Yeah,
Ruby.
Ruby,
You
thank
like
you
my
so much.
pigtails?
I love you know what I love? Your pink bow that matches Bonita's jacket.
Oh,
I
well,
think
how
that's
about that, Ruby?
very styling, Ruby,
I
very
got
styling.
the memo. I didn't send the memo.
You didn't. That's so funny. Thank you both for being with us today. Thank you all for watching with us today. Be in touch with Bonita. Her middle name is Joy for a reason. She brings joy to your presentations and to your audience. So be in touch with Bonita. And remember, we're here all the time at womensprosperityNetwork.com. And if you're not yet a part of this amazing community, you can get started for free or complimentary, as some people prefer to say, at womensprosperityNetwork.com. Thank you all for being with us. Bonita and Ruby, thank you for sharing your joy with us today. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and we will see you again next time on another episode of Be Real, Get Real with Women's Prosperity Network. Bye, everybody. Bye, Ruby.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.